من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور. ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور. آمنتم من في السماء أن يخسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور. أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نذير. ولقد كذب الذين من قبلهم فكيف كان نكير. أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم صافات ويقبض ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن إنه بكل شيء بصير. إنه بكل شيء بصير. أمن هذا إنه بكل شيء بصير. أمن هذا الذي هو جند لكم ينصركم من دون الرحمن إن الكافرون إلا في غرور. أمن هذا الذي يرزقكم إن أمسك رزقه بل لجوا في عتو ونفور. أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى أمن يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم. قل
Barakallahu fikum, ya Sheikh. Barakallahu fikum. We really appreciated we appreciate your recitation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the reward for the recitation that you've had. So that we don't waste much of our time, we're going straight to the lecture that we have today. Going to be done by our regular Ustaz for our zero. Ustaz Ubaidullah, فليتفضل مشكورا.
جزاكم الله خيرا. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My sheikh decided to tease me. He said, our regular ustaz. Who's your regular ustaz? Now, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his blessings and mercy on us. We beseech blessings on our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his household, his companions, and to those people who follow his path to the day of accountability. Amin, inshallah. Who can remind us what we did the last upper week? Can anyone remind us of what we did in the last upper week? I'm not talking about last week. Last week, we didn't really have class. I was able to meet wonderful people like Ustaz Abdul Rahman Salvador from Isaleku. I was able to meet Sheikh Bilal. He was able to tell me more about who the initial Bilal was, alhamdulillah. So, but for this week, for last upper week, we talked about some things. And then I would love if anyone can help me or remind me of where we stopped. Anybody? Okay, no problem. Since we don't have anybody to remind me of what we've done here, inshallah, we are six participants in the meeting presently. If I exclude myself, that means we'll be 5 people in the meeting. Now, I want to give every 5 of us a task. And I'll be mentioning the task later. But let us all know that we all have a duty to play in this hijrah class today. So, inshallah, from what we did in the last class, we talked about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on his way to Medina. We also talked about him meeting people on the road. We also talked about him meeting Ma'bad, which she actually described, and it was said that she is the one that has given the most. She gave the most, the close description of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And from this, we understand what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam looks like, and also we understand what tarwiyah means, what we know as white lie, and how Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to get to Medina safe and calm. Inshallah, today, what we'll be treating, it's not going to be like story per se, but it's going to contain some things that we've mentioned and we've known before, inshallah. I was speaking to us the other day and I said, why did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu choose to go to Medina? Why did Allah send Prophet Muhammad sallallahu to Medina? Now, one thing we must understand is that it is not written somewhere that this is why Allah wanted him to go, or this is why he shouldn't go, or something. But all what we'll be saying, inshallah, in the class today is going to be what we have deduced from why Medina seemed like the best of places, inshallah. So, firstly, what is the meaning of Medina? And I think I mentioned this in the last classes that we've had. The meaning of Medina means city. I could remember when I was learning Arabiya and then I got to hear that the meaning of Medina means city. I was like, so what's the big deal about Medina? Aside from the fact that it's city, Medina can also means capital. So when you say Abuja is the capital of Nigeria, Ikeja is the capital of Lagos, Birnin Kebbi is the capital of Kebbi, you get to understand that Medina is like the capital of Islam. It's like the capital of Islam. So now, when we understand this, we now get to understand again that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to Medina as Medina so many times in the Quran. And that the former name of Medina was Yathrib. And I explained that the meaning of Yathrib it means something that is evil. And let me make this explanation again. So Medina formerly was named Yathrib. And what Yathrib means is something that is evil. And the Arab used to do this in the ancient days, whereby due to the fact that they want to avoid evil eye, they would call that good thing, they will call it evil. So that when anyone sees it, he feels like, oh, he's evil. He doesn't feel, so that the thing doesn't get affected by evil eye. You know, the same way someone in Hausa would see his child and name the child Dan Al-Barika, is the same way another person will see the child and, you know, be envious of that child. And as a result, evil eye is applied, and this person becomes a different person entirely. So, and we've had scenarios of where Muhammad Sallallahu renaming people. You know, some of them, you see a woman who come to Prophet to accept Islam, Prophet will ask for her name. She'll say, our own name is Sadness. Why will your name be Sadness? Allah say, no, from today, your name will be Happiness. You know, a woman would name herself, a child, Grief, Sorrow. Prophet will change their names to good things, and you give them the best of names. And this is what we understand, that yes, we are trying and praying to Allah to save us from evil eye. At the same time, it doesn't mean we should call what is bad, you should call what is good a bad thing. So what Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu did when he got to Medina, and Medina was called Yathrib formerly, he decided to call it Medina. And he has other names also that has been gathered by scholars, and there's a lot of them, over 100. And the Arab have this tendency, when they consider something to be grand and big, they give it so many names. So Medina is known as the capital, is also known as the city. Now, I said we are 6 participants in the meeting. And I also mentioned that, inshallah, I'll be giving all of us a task. Today, I'll be explaining to you why. Why is Medina like the best of places they could have gone to? Yes, there's another place in Abyssinia, which is known as Ethiopia of today, where the Muslims were there. They were in Ethiopia, in Abyssinia, enjoying their lives, and the king gave them all they needed. The Prophet could have just directed every other Muslim to Abyssinia, but then he didn't. Now, why is Medina the best of places? So I will start with the other names of Medina, and I'll also let us know that I said, I don't know why I've been repeating this. So we are about 5 people now in the meeting. Inshallah, the task of everybody is that I will give us why Medina is important. I'll also give us the virtues of Medina in mentioning why Medina is very important and big and grand. And why I'm mentioning this, inshallah, at the end of the meeting, every one of us is going to mention 2 out of the virtues that I've mentioned. And inshallah, if Sheikh Umar decides to tell me 2 virtues of why Medina was chosen, if Hajia Fatia is going to tell me the same, if she's going to tell me another virtue, if she's going to tell me her own virtue, it shouldn't be the same thing like Sheikh Umar already mentioned. If Hajia Fatia mentions her own must not be the same thing with what Sheikh Bilal is going to mention. If Sheikh Bilal mentioned his own must not be the same thing with what Sheikh Abdul Rahman is going to mention. So like that, I'll give us so many virtues. At the same time, I want us to take note of 2, and those 2 must not be mentioned by another person, inshallah. May Allah make it easy for every one of us. Another thing we should know is Medina has so many names like Taba, Tayyiba, and all these means purity and source of purity. This is also to show that Medina is not an evil place. Instead, it's one of the best of places on earth. Now, Prophet Muhammad SAW prayed for Medina. And one thing that has stand out in Medina is, from the prayer of Muhammad SAW, Medina has never been afflicted by the common diseases that we have. About 1916 or 1914, there was Spanish influenza that the whole world was affected with. Medina wasn't affected. In the time of COVID, those people that were affected with COVID in Medina are those people coming from outside, not those in Medina. And then you would never hear of the spread or outbreak in Medina, even though thousands and millions of people gather in Medina, you wouldn't hear of the spread of the outbreak of diseases in Medina. even though Medina was afflicted with famine, Medina was afflicted with famine, but when it comes to um, diseases and outbreak of diseases, Medina was safe from that. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he prayed for the love of Medina. He prays that, oh Allah, habib ilayna al-Madina. He said he prays to Allah that Allah should instill and establish the love of Medina in him. And in some narrations, he prays that Allah establishes the love of Medina in him than the love he has for Mecca, or even more. Habib ilayna al-Madina kama كحب مكة أو أشد. That's the dua he makes, and that's where Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these bring questions to the scholars when they would say, is Medina actually better or Mecca? And I believe that's not an argument for us to make for now, inshallah. And then when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also declared Medina as haram. So we know that Mecca has been described as being declared as a haram since the creation of mankind, since the creation of the world. Mecca has been declared, and Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam actually announced its significance. And from what we know, if I may ask, how many harams do we have as Muslims? How many harams do we have? Anybody? How many harams do we have? Anyone? 3. Okay. Okay, so I would explain what haram is. I'm coming to that, inshallah. Thank you. So we would actually explain what haram is. Well, let me just mention it now. So haram is brought out from the word haram. Haram. And haram is what you say when something is forbidden. Okay? So haram was derived from haram. And haram is like a place or a period or a particular time where even things that are allowed outside of it are forbidden inside of it. There are some things you can do outside when you're not in the haram, when you're not in that place. But when you are inside the haram, or when it is that time of when it's that sacred time, you can't do those things that are allowed outside of it. Inside the sacred places. I'll give you an example. So like cutting of grasses, like cutting of leaves from the tree. In Mecca, you can't do that. If the leaf falls, fine. But you can't intentionally cut a tree or just cut a tree. If a person loses a purse in Mecca, in the haram there, you don't pick the purse and go and give. On a normal thing, when you see a purse on the ground, we always do now, you give authority so that when the person is looking for it, they can give the person. But in Mecca, you don't do that. You leave the purse there. You leave it there because it's haram. It was even said that even in the days of Jahiliyyah, when there was no this thing, even the people that were worshipping idols, they understood what haram is. They said a man would see the murderer of his father. He would see the person that killed his father, and then he would not kill. He would just watch. He would see the person that killed his father doing tawaf, and he would watch him and not affiliate him with anything because it's in the haram site. So the things that are allowed outside of haram cannot be done inside of haram. Like harming things. Allah says, وَمَنْ دَخَلَهُ كَانَ آمِنًا. Whoever enters the haram is safe. Is safe. You can't just carry. You see in Mecca, you see some soldiers and police and armies. Those ones are for specific reason, for safety and protection. Outside that, you can't just march an army into Mecca or haram. It's not allowed. when Prophet Muhammad conquered Mecca, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me a fraction of the afternoon to march in to Mecca with my armies. So Haram is more like, is a sacred place. Everything that is in it is safe. The same way we have sacred places, we also have sacred months. So as Muslims, in those sacred months, we don't fight war, we don't fight battles, we don't do this, we don't do that. And that's why, we said Haram, Muharram is also is a sacred month. We have the Qa'dah, we have the Hijrah, we have an Rajab. So in these months, we consider that the lives and properties of people are much more of certain importance. So Mecca is an haram, example is Mecca. So there are some things you can do. You can't kill a mosquito in Mecca. Even an animal, you don't do that. So that's to how big we consider an haram to be. Okay. So I was asking how many haram we have. And then the Sheikh mentioned that we have 3. However, I will be coming to that and I would explain the numbers of harams we have and why it might and might not be 3, inshallah. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu he prayed to Allah and he also declared Medina as an haram, and he also prayed that he said Allahumma barik fi sa'ina wa muddina. He prayed to Allah that Allah puts blessings in their measuring and in their scale and measuring. When you go to, there are some countries even till today, when you go to places like Yemen and some big countries like that, all these Arab countries, you see that when they want to sell, no matter how big that thing is, they don't sell it based on the value. They sell it based on weight. They would measure and sell. They would measure and sell. In Nigeria here, when you want to buy fruit, they give me 5 fruits there. And then they just give you buy 5 fruits, you give them, to you, you're just buying 5, and that 5 can be 500. No matter how big or small it is, you will price, and they give you 500. But then it's not in those countries, it's not like that. They measure it. If it's 5 kilos, 5 kilos has what it amounts to. If it's 10 kilos, it has what it amounts to. So when Muhammad sallallahu prayed that Allah puts blessings in the scale and measuring of Medina, and that's why it is said that the food of Medina suffices for anyone that goes in there. Yes, it is not a place that produces a large amount of food, but those grains that they sell there is enough for them. Is enough for them. In Nigeria, we have so many farms and these things, but we still import things into our country. It doesn't suffice us. But for Medina, Allah has put so much blessings in their grains and their food and in their measuring and scale. Allah has put so much blessings in it. So the food of Medina suffices for those people that are in it. But Muhammad sallallahu also, he said in so many narrations, and this one was captured. He said, "Al-Madinatu khayrun lahum law kanu ya'lamun. Al-Madinatu khayrun lahum law kanu ya'lamun. Al-Madinatu khayrun lahum law kanu ya'lamun." He said, Medina is better for the Muslims if they only knew. Medina is better for the Muslims if they only knew. Medina is better for the Muslims if they only knew. So this Prophet Muhammad sallallahu proclaiming to the world that for everyone that wants to actually enjoy the best place or best of places for him to go is Medina. And like I said earlier, Mecca is blessed from the beginning of creation. Medina was declared by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu said, "Oh Allah, your servant and slave Ibrahim has declared Mecca a sacred place. So I declare Medina as a sacred place." No one decides or intends. No one intends to cause harm in Medina, except that Allah dissolves him the way salt dissolves in water. You just intend. You have not committed the crime. That's why you can commit crime in other places, but in those sacred sites, those sacred places, you can't commit crimes there. Don't even try it. Don't even intend. You know, it was said in, I was speaking to some people that went for Hajj. They said, just intending to you are just intending to pray about something, and the thing is already accepted. They just like, oh, they're just intending that, oh Allah, I wish to have this, and that thing is happening already. So in sacred sites, you don't have evil thoughts to people. Don't even intend to commit a crime. Prophet said, no one will intend to commit a crime in Medina except that Allah would dissolve the person the same way salt dissolves in water. So this calls our attention that Medina is a very great place. Now, Prophet Muhammad SAW also mentioned in another narration, he said, whoever is patient about whoever is patient at the difficulty of Medina. So because the weather is hot, there's sometimes they face famine, drought, things like that. They face things like that. But I said, whoever is patient on the difficulty of Medina, I guarantee the person intercession on the day of Qiyamah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu would specially intercede for you on whoever is patient on the difficulty of Medina. This is telling us the virtue and the bounties of Medina. Now, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu also said that, okay, so amongst what we understood is even the Khulafa al-Rashidin and all of them, the Sahabas and all of them, one of the du'as they used to make is that they die in Medina. And from what we know in a record is that Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu used to pray to Allah that, oh Allah, I want to die as a shaheed and I also want to die in Medina. And this was a strange dua to whoever was listening to him, because his son used to tell him, he said, my father, I understand that you want to die in Medina, but how would you die in Medina and you be a shaheed? Because being a shaheed means either you die by someone killing you, either you die by sickness and something like that. And this is not common in Medina to die as a shaheed, when we understand that the Umar time was the golden times. He was a leader, everything was okay, alhamdulillah. So, and then who would decide to stand up one day and say he wants to go and face Umar bin Khattab? So Umar dying as a shaheed was not making sense to whoever was listening to the dua. But this was the dua of Umar. He was always praying, oh Allah, I want to die in Medina and I want to die as a shaheed. And when his death was going to come, when they were going to kill him, he was on Salah, and the person, he knew they were around to kill him. He was observing the Salah, and they actually stabbed him while he was on Salah. And they knew that they cannot actually decide to attack him except that he was on Salah, because that was the time of Allah. And he knows whatever anyone is doing around him is not important to him. The scholars, they speak when they're on Salah, it's like as if they are talking to Allah already directly. So they don't really consider other side attractions and other side things. It was said, because I work in the health system, it was said that there was a Sahaba, that's the son of Asma bint Abu Bakr. His name is Zubayr bin Zubayr. His name is Zubayr bin, I can't remember. His name is Abdullah bin Zubayr. I think Abdullah bin Zubayr. Abdullah bin Zubayr, there was a time when I think something was wrong with his leg, and they had to cut the leg. They had to cut the leg off, and they gave him option. Of today we use anesthesia, this thing that reduces pain. So they're going to give Abdullah bin Zubayr an option. They asked him, should we give you alcohol so that the pain is going to get reduced? Should we give you this and that? But all that did not actually work for him. He said, if you give me this or that, I'm still going to feel the pain. So he said, what you can do is that when I'm on Salah, you cut off the leg. And then he performed the ablution. And while he started the Salah. And while he was on the Salah, they cut off his leg and he didn't feel any pain. Why? Because he was so focused on the Salah. He was so focused on the Salah. So the same thing with Umar. He was so focused on the Salah. They killed him, they stabbed him. He didn't die immediately, because they still try to treat him, fix him, but he died at the long run. So this was for Umar. And, Umar had the love the Prophet Muhammad SAW also had for Medina. And his prayer was that if he wants to die, inshallah, he prays that Allah kills him and that he dies as a shaheed in Medina. And then Prophet Muhammad SAW, Prophet Muhammad SAW, there is a graveyard in Medina known as Baqi al-Gharq. Baqi al-Gharq is where over 10,000 Sahabas are buried. The same graveyard where is the most blessed graveyard on earth. And whoever dies in Medina and is lucky already, and whoever now dies in Medina and is lucky to be buried in Baqi al-Gharq, he's extra blessed. Here is where over 10,000 Sahabas are buried. Here is where Uthman bin Affan is buried. Here is where Ali bin Abi Talib is buried. Here is where the 9 wives of Prophet Muhammad sallam, excluding Khadija, the 9 wives of Prophet Muhammad sallam, are buried. Here is where the Prophet's son Ibrahim was buried. Here is where great people are buried. So it was recorded that Prophet Muhammad sallam, one night, woke up at midnight to go to Baqi al-Gharq to pray for its people. And then on getting there, Aisha also woke up that midnight and she didn't find Prophet Muhammad sallam on the bed. And then what she did was, she saw him later and she asked him, where have you been? She said, Jibril woke me up to tell me that Allah has commanded me to go and pray for those people in Baqi al-Gharq. And this is to show us that the graveyard is so much blessing. Prophet Muhammad sallam specifically praying for its people. It was also one of the actions he does, especially when he was about to die. It was one activity he participated in, going to Baqi al-Gharq to pray for its people every time. So we understand and this Baqi al-Gharq is located in Medina. We understand its importance and how big it is. And then, all these point out to the virtues of Medina and how great it is. However, because the moderator is already giving me time. However, from the PQ aspect of Medina, inshallah, by next week, we're going to treat it properly. The fiqh perspective of Medina, what is considered an haram, from the scholarly view. When you talk about fiqh perspective, we have only 2 harams. We have haramain. We have 2 haramains from the fiqh aspect. Yes, this might sound offensive to those people that say, "Oh, what of Masjid al-Aqsa, Bayt al-Maqdis, is also a haram." No. They said when you talk about fiqh, when you talk about fiqh of what a haram is, the Masjid al-Aqsa doesn't meet it. You can kill the animals around it, you can cut the trees, you can do this and that, you can do all sorts. But for other harams, you can do that. And then inshallah we'll touch every one of them next week. From the blessings of the Mecca is that whoever prays in Mecca has 100,000 rewards. Whoever prays in Medina has 1,000 rewards, and whoever prays in Baytul Maqdis, Masjid al-Aqsa, has 250 rewards. And if you pray in your regular masajids, you have like 25 or 27 in another narration rewards. And if you pray in your house, you have 1 reward, for the males, not for the females. So all these things boils down to the fadl and the bounties Allah has placed in places. And inshallah, by next week, we are going to have more time to dissect all these sayings, and we'll have more time to explain them individually. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this a hujjah for us and not against us, inshallah. Like I mentioned, inshallah, what we would do is we'll first ask for I want to know if there's any questions. Is there any question, inshallah? I don't mind answering. You can type them or text them or ask them physically, inshallah. I would answer. And if there is no questions, then I feel like every participant here, inshallah, should tell me at least one thing about Medina that makes it a sacred and or a very special place, inshallah. I'll start from my Sheikh Ustaz Umar Abdul Salah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Just as Ustad has mentioned, one of the sacred things about Medina was the fact that, like, when the Prophet ﷺ got there, he did dua about Medina and the safety of Medina too, as he added. But one more thing, the fact that we have Haram in Medina also makes, like, the city a sacred city. So I think since we don't have much time, so I think this point I've highlighted are significant.
No, Jazakumullah khairan. Hajia Adebi Fatiha, can you tell me one virtue of Medina at least? Just one.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So I actually did not hear what he said, but
All what I
what
said.
I have, what did he say? The first person that said that spoke.
Okay, you didn't hear what the first person said.
Yes.
No problem. Just say your. Say your.
Okay. So Medina is safe from outbreak of diseases.
Thank you. Can you give me another one?
Medina was declared a sacred place for Prophet Muhammad, and you don't have evil thoughts or intentions towards anybody. And if you do, you'll be dissolved like salt in water.
Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you. Sheikh Bilal. Now, one virtue of Medina. Sheikh Bilal, are you there? Sheikh Abdurrahman Salvador. Ustaz Abdurrahman Salvador, are you there? No, he said his answer that he said, Bilal. Okay, what does Sheikh Abdurrahman Salvador? Okay. Haja Fulana. No response. No problem. May Allah make it easy for every one of us.
So at the end of today's session, Jazakallah khairan. We really appreciate your attendance. Inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this a hujjah for us and not against us. See you all in the next session. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's easy to use Zoom.